Hello and welcome to the Kenneth for Cameron Law Office Legal Podcast. In this edition, we talk about the duties of the executor under a will. Now, the United States Supreme Court in a case, Tulsa Professional Collection Services versus Joanne Pope, Executrix of the estate of Pope, deceased. The United States Supreme Court held the executor or personal representative in every estate is personally responsible to provide actual notice to all known or readily ascertainable creditors of the decedent. The United States Supreme Court then held that it's your responsibility to diligently search for any readily ascertainable creditors. If someone is an executor under the will, they need to do the following. 1. Probate the will. How is that done? In New Jersey, typically the executor will meet with the attorney. The attorney will prepare a surrogate office fact sheet. The fact sheet will be completed setting forth the date of the will, any codicils, who the executor is, and other information. And typically we want to fax the will, the fact sheet, and death certificate ahead of time prior to meeting with the surrogate. Once the executor meets with the surrogate, they obtain what's called executor's certificates. There's a court rule that requires a notice of probate to the beneficiaries. Typically, the attorney will handle. If there's a charity, the court rules require a notice of probate to the Attorney General. Typically, the attorney handles that. Then there's a court rule that requires a notice of probate be filed with the surrogate. Typically, the attorney will handle that. The executor will then apply for the tax ID number. Once they obtain the tax ID number, they typically set up an estate account at a nearby bank. It's a good idea for the executor to pay all the bills from the estate account rather than a personal account to avoid issues of commingling. In New Jersey, once the bills are paid, typically a New Jersey inheritance tax return is drafted if there's any tax that is due. Now, in New Jersey, there's no inheritance tax if the monies are going to children, spouse, grandchildren, or parents. However, there's still a need for inheritance tax waivers to obtain if there's a house to be sold or if someone other than a spouse is getting the house. Once the inheritance tax waivers are obtained and any taxes paid, they need to be filed with the county clerk's office. The executor has to make arrangements for any federal and state income tax returns to be filed. Typically that's done with the CPA. The executor then prepares an informal accounting and sends that to the different beneficiaries. New Jersey has a law that there is a requirement for a child support search because any child support would be a lien against the person receiving money, and the executor can be held responsible if they don't make sure there's no child support due. New Jersey requires that there would be an accounting in all cases unless all the beneficiaries sign a paper and dispense with the accounting. And that can be done through what's called a release and refunding bond, which the attorney prepares. We send to all the beneficiaries, and if the beneficiaries all sign it, that dispenses with the expense of the accounting and going to court. For other information on duties of an executor, contact a probate attorney. In New Jersey, contact Kenneth for Cameron and Associates, 732-572-0500, 2053 Woodbridge Avenue, Edison, New Jersey, 08817. Website www.njlaws.com. That's njlaws.com, or centraljerseyelderlaw.com. Thank you.